One person. All right, one person. How are you? Let's look at some of the prices. Everything on my screen is red. ZJYL is down 3. GDC is actually white. It's flat so ZJYL is 203. GDC is 159. DJT is down 10 smackers. Is that a saw note? What's a saw note? Anyway, that's down 10 at 41.64. Finger is down 9 cents at 196. NIX, NIXX is up 3 cents at 273. Let's check out that volume. Not much. And then let's see what else is out there. Wolf is up 32 cents at $7. That's probably capped by the conversion price around $8. But that's been a success story for those of you in it. Drug is my eyesight's so bad. Drug is still $47. Wouldn't that be fun to catch one of these that runs up, pulls back, runs up, and then stays there? That would be amazing. Logic is green, but it's 0.018. So it's still, you can still have it for 2 cents. And, you know, if you're lucky, it goes to 20 cents, but I think it goes to 16 cents, that gap in the chart. Everybody's bored with it. And there's some unknowables. I have a feeling the outstanding shares in Logic have gone up an unknowable amount. So, you know, maybe there's reason for hesitation, but I think that 16-cent target takes that uncertainty into account. All right, so there you go. That's pretty much all the stock prices. Ham's at therapy, but I'm sure he will call in as he drives back. The 3 women on the Supreme Court, other than the Catholic, there's 4 women on the Supreme Court, as you know. But the 3 women voted to allow non-citizens in Virginia to vote. They must have their reasons. But I'm pretty clear that you have to be a citizen to vote in Virginia. Luckily, the other justices overruled them. And I guess Virginia can get rid of non-citizens on its voter rolls. However, in Pennsylvania, busloads of looks like non-citizens, foreign speakers anyway, are being escorted to the front of the line to vote. Busloads. So don't count on Trump being your next president. And I'll tell you what, when Kamala is our president, we have to zip our mouth, because then we're going to go into a communist style, socialist, Nazi style shutdown, and you won't be able to speak your mouth in the United States of America anymore. When Kamala is president, there's nothing more fearsome than feminists in power. Nothing. And I'm sorry if that sounds sexist. It's just my observation. What happens is the ends justify the means, which is Marx and Lenin. Marxist-Leninism. Lenin-Marxism, anyway. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. Ilyich. Nevada Supreme Court brings in law. All right, in Nevada, if your ballot comes in without a timestamp, without a stamp, they can be counted up to 3 days after election. So I guess don't count on Nevada. Harris will win Nevada. So I guess that means Harris will win Pennsylvania and Nevada. You still got Stacy Keach or whatever her name is down in Georgia, and that Rhino. Hang on a second. I've got to take this call. Just hang on a second. Sorry about that. See, now I'm in a pickle because I don't know if David is here or not, but I started talking about all 3 or 4 stocks. And if I hear even a whisper on one and I'm told don't say anything, how do I not talk about something without calling it out? See, this is just the hardest thing. You guys want explicit information. Wall Street is run by information, and it starts with people that know, and maybe there's an instinct, and then they tell somebody, and they tell somebody. And then if you get in with a little information, you can't tell anybody. But you guys want to know it specific. You can't take hints. Hints you don't like. So you want to know it specifically. I don't know. I think for the time being, I'm not going to speak on any of the 4 or 5 stocks that I've brought to your attention. Any of them. I'm not going to speak on any of them. And if Ann wants to, great. But I'm not going to speak on any of them. So whatever I've said recently, remember that or don't remember it, but I'm not going to speak on any of them. So that means I got to come up with a whole new thing to talk about, whole new life to talk about. And for those of you who want news, specific, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So I'm not going to talk about any of the 5 or 6 stocks that I've highlighted to you until everybody can. Hopefully you took Ham's advice on DJT. It's a hedge fund game and dangerous now. Easy money has been made. I agree with that, Travis. To me, and I really wish I had played it, but I didn't have the squid, is when they drove it down all the way to 10. Now, the caveat is when he turned his head and zing, that might have saved it from going out of business. But that was just such a clear trade to me. The only question was, would it happen in November or could it take till January? And to go from 10 to back to the cluster of trades, roughly 35 to 45, I can't remember it, showing you the charts. That was the easy part of the trade. I still think it's going to go to 70. I still think it will, but I agree with you, Travis, 100%. I think the stock is dangerous. The premiums on the calls are just out of this world. So if you buy them, you're going to lose your money probably. Let me put it another way. I don't have them in front of me, but if you bought the 50 calls right now, the stock probably has to go to 55, 56 just to break even. That's a silly bet. So I agree with you. Good evening, William. Not even logic. See, that's like when a guy asks you, hey, I heard you got lucky with such and such girl. And I always made it a policy in my lifetime never to answer those questions. I took the road that Bill Clinton did not, or maybe he did. I don't know. Maybe he did. But I just think anything you did, one got involved with, particularly with a woman, you're a gentleman, you don't talk about it. And I never talked about it. But then that put me in the position, if I quickly said, no, I never did that, but then with the other woman, I didn't say anything, that got confusing. So I just didn't answer the questions. And don't worry about logic, but I'm not going to talk about any of them. Not for FER, F-E-R, not FER. I don't know how long either. I don't know how long either. I just can't take the risk of it. And I'm not implying, by the way, Donna, that I know anything at all, new or different. It's just, as I told David, I was asked to hush my mouth. And I've just been asked again. And it's not that I know anything, believe it or not. So I don't know what it means. I'm not going to say anything about why, but that's the problem. It's a problem. It's just the problem. So no hints, nothing. But Donna, I've said everything. I mean, I've said everything that I think already. And just because I'm not going to say anything more doesn't mean I've changed my mind on anything. And I like that you're accumulating. That's the thing to do when no one else is. You get the best premiums, you get the best price, and that's where you can get 2x and 3x and even 5x and even 10x very quickly. When things cycle, they always go down by too much. And if you have the courage to get in down there, when they cycle back to value, they usually overshoot and go up too much. And if you get it right, you know how to trade at the top, which I admit I don't. The easiest part is when you know the story and it's bloody cheap, as it cycles back where everyone knows the value. That's the easy part of the trade. It's just like what happened in DJT just now. You know, and you know. Donna, a lot of these and what's going on in general out there is a lot of these teams of brilliant people who the shorts, from Jeff Lind to Yorkville to Ionic to fill in the blank, Benchmark, everyone they refer on up the escalator to the slaughter. Those shorts say that all these CEOs have crap ideas. It never works. It's never going to work. Short. Well, it's a rigged system, and it's guaranteed to win because Ann Wagner doesn't care. Goober Gensler is a goober. That's all he is, and he knows it. That's why he has to glad hand so much. He doesn't have brains. He doesn't have integrity. He has no leadership skills, and he has no ideas. What the hell is he doing there? Ann Wagner is a nice presentation for the men at power at Carlisle, and they kicked her over to NASDAQ, DEI. Hey, woman. Now she's the 5th most powerful woman on Wall Street, and she does F all with it. She does nothing, and she has power. That, my friends, is a bunt. Car key, key weight, Kipling. Oh, I see. Substitute the letter K for the letter C. What a silly bunt. Anyway, and then, of course, the useless, faceless bureaucrat haunches that which he sits on wider than his shoulders. Robert Cook. Of course, it's not like I'm a bathing beauty. Hey, Augustine. Hey, Joe. I'm sure. Hey, PS71. I'm sure Ham will be coming on, and you can pepper him. He just has to go for this pain. My prediction: pain. But PS71, I think let me pick a date which will live in infamy. I think as soon as, let me get my calendar up, as soon as Veterans Day, November 11th. Is Veterans Day a holiday? Probably. So that's a banker's holiday. So probably as soon as November 12th range, I'll be able to host a call on that gold company that everybody, not everybody, but I'd say about 25 people invested in. It's been a slow wait, and it's been just an issue, nothing operationally, nothing bad in the gold market. In fact, gold's now at 2,700, and if previous research reports and information given in presentations are correct, this process of gold recovery is around, I want to say it was $350 an ounce, but call it $500 an ounce. You now have 2,200 in profit per ounce potential. There's two things that need to be proved up: that the process can be upscaled. I know that's not a word. It can be brought up to a commercial level, and you can just punch it out every day. Like machines do. That's the beauty of machines. And if you can do that, the cost is apparently, like I just said, under $500. So with gold trading at $2,700, that's $2,200 net. That's amazing. That is amazing. But even the big guys out there, their cost of gold per ounce, $1,200, $1,400 an ounce. There'll be more gold coming online, but it'll take a while to catch up. And as I've been trying to educate people, I'm not a big fan of the gold standard, but I think it's really clear that 44%, I think that's correct, of the world's economy is going to move away from doing transactions in dollars and move away from having their reserves in dollars, and they're going to move to gold. And Russia's moving to silver as well. And if that kind of leadership catches on, you've got the entire BRICS world buying gold and silver. And we in the West are still checking out Kim Kardashian's fading beauty. And we've moved on to Taylor Swift's rather plain expression of youth and skill. And I guess next up will be, you pick it, fill it in, but we're not paying attention to what's happening in the world. We don't want to look. We don't want to realize that we got where the United States got where it is, blessed definitely by Providence with resources, but we took a lot of them. And so when I criticize Netanyahu and a certain part of Israel, I'm fully aware that the British part of us came in and lied to the Indians. That it's not even their name, but that's what we called them. And then, we did a lot of bad things too. But I don't know how you move forward as human beings. You have to atone for your forebears' sins, of course. But if you didn't do them yourself, how do you atone? It's very hard. But what you can change is what is right now. And if it came to it, Israelis could point out that we have children in Indian reservations starving and not being treated well. They could. So anyway, leaving all that out, the United States got where it is by working hard. It had certain ideas. We weren't afraid of the truth. Hard work, and yes, from the time of Carnegie and Frick, there was the battle between capital and labor and the union busters and all that. But then we had, if I could just narrow it down to one name, we had guys like FDR. We don't have them anymore. Obama wasn't FDR. And Kamala Harris couldn't wear FDR's shoes. I don't know what analogy to use. But we're not there anymore. We got some work to do, but we still have our ideas. And if we're honest again, and if we have freedom of speech and press and capital markets that are honest, we can recover. But until then, capital's going to flow where it's treated best. And I tell you what, Putin's creating it. Kamala's not creating it. Kamala's not creating it. Biden's not creating it. Obama didn't create it. I think Bush abused our financial system. And I think it really stems from the fact that it's our banksters who are abusing you and the United States. The banks are acting as if they're a chosen elite who has the right to suck off of all the rest of us and steal, cheat, rig the game so they can make outlandish returns with no risk. And they, by owning Ann Wagner, by owning Congress, by owning Chuck Schumer, by owning Hillary Clinton, by owning Kamala Harris, they can send our troops to death and destruction. They can turn on the printing presses. They can gobble up every home in the country. And then they can control the media and tell us that we live in a democracy. And then we get mad at each other. Oh, he's sexist. He hates women. I don't. I love women. I think most men do. There's never been a war started over a man, ever. But there's been wars started over women. But maybe that's sexist. Oh, don't talk about us that way. We're not sexual objects. You can't own us. But we feel empowered if we go online and we sleep with 100 guys in 2 years. We're empowered. Wait a minute. It doesn't make sense to me. That's not being a sexual object. And the fact that some men idealize you. I don't know. It's like Waylon Jennings said. That's what they made jukeboxes for. If a man wants to understand what goes on in a woman's brain, on that, I mean, you can figure it out 85% of the time. Two mistakes men make. Falling in love, that's a mistake. And the other is being a simp to a feminist. Other than that, I'm happy. All right. Gold, going back to gold. You got to own gold. You got to own silver. You got to own oil and gas. And let's move on. Kitteridge, Kit Carew, what did Kit say? Oh, I think Kit is talking about DJT. Yeah, I hesitate to bring that chart up. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up because I didn't say I wouldn't talk about that one. These are my lines. Kit would have better lines. But this downward wedge to me was so glaring that when it broke out, I said, oh man, that's going to go. And sure enough, it sort of created a V. That was the easy money. And I think what Kit, he'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think what Kit's saying is it ran up here to this tiny green hyphen, and it's pulled back. Well, to me, to my limited skills at technical analysis, and you can draw lines anywhere you want, but I saw this 30, and I forget why I came up with it, this 34 something roughly, as, if I can say it this way, getting back to normal. So it broke through this, let me say it differently. This stock got destroyed. It was in the middle of a rally. Here you can see the gap from 30 to almost 38. And then it ran to 47, 45, 46. And then it got destroyed. Well, I believe that this rally was real, and that's what was making sense. I think this destruction, and now this is fundamental, not technical analysis. I think this destruction was corruption and manipulation. Well, they lost control of it down here. So the price of the stock got back to where it really always had been or should have been. Anyway, I drew my line there. It broke through. To me, right around there is support. It runs to 47, pulls back. And I think what Kit is saying is you can now go, I'll say what I'm saying. I think you now will go to 55. That'll be a stopping point. It'll pull back. And then I think it goes to 72. I think Kit is saying much higher numbers because he actually knows what he's doing with like Fibonacci or something. Let's go over what he said. 57 to 38, and then back to 120, 143. I'll talk about DJT because I can't know anything about that one that's going to change anything, you know. When Ham comes on, he'll talk, and you'll hear everything you need to hear. DJT, hope it gets back to 45. Well, you can see this chart. Personally, I think it has to go. Nothing has to happen. But I think it has to go back to 55. Why? Because that was the trading range all the way back from the beginning of the year. Why does it have to? Because they're going to test it. They're going to test it. Will 55 hold? Probably the first time. Maybe even the second time. But I think the third time, at the latest, it'll break through. I think it's going to fill that gap that I highlighted in the middle of the chart. And that's 60. Oh, sorry, my eyesight. 57.50. So I think I'll go to 57.50. And I didn't use the high on the stock. I don't know why I chose that per se, but it made sense to me to use the opening price basically, and then the next day's high, not the intraday high. I don't know. I don't know if I'm right. But I think the stock is going to test 72.50. And if it gets there, it may stall. It may stall, but I don't think so. Why don't I think so? I don't see any resistance. I don't see any volume. I don't think, I can't show it to you, but back in April, there was a little bit of volume there. Was that volume before the gap or after? I don't know. So maybe there's a little bit of volume. But afterwards, there was plenty of time for weak hands to get shaken out. And my guess is weak hands did get shaken out. So I'm not all that convinced that there's a lot of people who bought this stock at, let's say, 72 or 75, who are waiting just to get their money back and they're going to sell. And even if there are, I don't think it's going to be enough volume to offset what's probably going to be a blow-off run in DJT, particularly if Trump is allowed to take office. I don't think he's going to be. But I hope so. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But anyway, I think DJT is calling a lot higher. All right, let's see what Kit's saying. 20-day moving average doesn't matter. 80% counterfeits left to clear up. I agree with that. And I also agree with that. Donald Trump probably won't be making the decisions, but Nunez, he's not going to sell out like GameStop. He won't sell out. So, yeah, I really think DJT has a lot higher to go. Now's probably the time if you really want to buy out of the money calls. Now's probably better than when it runs. But oh gosh, I wouldn't buy out of the money. I'd try to buy in the money or just buy the stock. In the money's probably not going to have a lot of premium, speculative premium. But anyway, you do what you want. It is hard. It's hard for anybody to read anybody else's mind, isn't it? Yeah, Kit, you can mention tickers if you want. I just am gonna take some time off. I emphasize, I'm not hiding anything. I'm not announcing anything. I'm just gonna hush my mouth. Like Shaft. He's not here to hear your thoughts on the world. Tell us why Finger still hasn't moved after all that time. Well, Peter Rump, I'll make it easy for you. Do I have a time frame on DJT? I just showed you the chart. I think it can trade in that broad trading range for days. You know, and we've already been a couple now, right? But I think broadly, I can't remember it, but I think banded by like 55 to 35, we can trade in that range for a little while. But if Kit's right, and if, let me put it this way, if Trump wins outright on Tuesday, I think it can go to much higher very quickly. You know, people can buy the stock, you know, and join in the revolution. I'm concerned they're not going to call the election Tuesday night or Wednesday. Nevada will need 3 more days. Michigan's already announced they'll take 1 more day at least. It looks like Pennsylvania's running into all the trouble they had before. So I'm skeptical if Pennsylvania will be called right away. I don't know what's happening in Georgia. I think Raffensperger is pretending to be a good guy, but I think he's a rhino. And Stacey Large, what's her name? Stacey Keach, Stacey Abrams is still down there. So I wonder about Georgia, but it looks like he's going to win that, so we might be okay. Then North Carolina, they're going after that pastor, Robinson. And I don't know, I haven't studied it. Did he really do something bad or not? I don't know. Seems like a lot of pastors do. But I like that guy. I've listened to his speeches. I've listened to his courage, but they seem to be going after him. They don't want him as governor. And maybe that'll hurt Trump in North Carolina. I doubt it, but I don't think North Carolina is going to be called right away like it was before. So to me, the way Trump wins Tuesday night is if Virginia turns and goes red, because they're not cheating in Virginia. What if New Jersey turns? What if New Hampshire turns? What if New Mexico turns? I don't know. A surprise somewhere would do it. Screw options, use the data to move strategically. I agree, Kit. Options are 95% of call options expire worthless. So who do you think wins when you buy call options? Now you can turn that around for yourself. There's one young lady here that bought, I think, 350 DJT. She sold 100. Maybe, I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe if the stock goes to 70, you put out 10 of the 100 calls, or 10 of the 80 calls, you sell them, or 10 of the 90 calls, sell them. You'll get a premium. If it runs, you're out at 100 and, I don't know, I'm making it up. You're out at 105. If it doesn't run, you keep that $5 premium. Pretty nice game. Anytime it doesn't talk, something's about to blow. You know, the one, if we had made money every time we thought we heard something, we'd all be bloody Rockefeller. But I hope, you know, from your lips to God's ears, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I did ban Peter Rump. I did ban him. Thank you, Red Pepper. I tell you what, Red Pepper, Peter Rump doesn't want to hear my theories on football or on golf. He doesn't want that. I can talk baseball, but I can't talk football. The Washington Redskins, I don't know anything about them. I can watch it. I can get into it a little bit, but I get bored before the quarter's done. I think, oh, I'm enjoying this. I can stay here. Oh, this will be fun. And then one touchdown later, my mind is drifting. That is amazing. Do you think so? California will turn? Woo. That would be awesome. Well, the hardest part about options, as with these small stocks, I had a friend of mine, he's now a very big broker, wealth advisor at my old office where I worked. I used to do more business than he, but now he's in a whole different league. But I remember one time he told me, we were standing at a bar, these smaller stocks, he said, no wonder. He's always got a very keen eye, almost intuitive understanding of risk, of odds. He's good at the horses. He's good at betting, and he's really good at trading, like as you imply. But he said, no wonder they don't let you. They take margin off at $2 or whatever. Every firm's different. He said it's almost like you're already on margin. You're already, because your bids and your asks on these low price stocks are massive. Not anymore as much, but when they move, they are. So if like Finger, if they're playing with it, you could buy it at $2. I'm making this up. This is not current numbers. You could buy it at $2, but the bid's 180. So as soon as you buy it, you're down 10% if you have to turn around and sell it. These are tough things to trade against. But my hardest thing to do with these small stocks and with options, but I learned to do it. It's almost like, just tell yourself, this is going to hurt. I'm inflicting pain. It's going to be, I don't deserve it. I'm going to fail again. But if the option trade gives you, and sometimes it does, it doubles or triples your money, sell some. Same with these stocks. Like when I owned Finger, I bought a bunch between, to my memory, 17 cents, 18 cents, 20 cents, 23 cents. I did it on my own. No one clued me. I said, you know what? I've studied this story. Why is it down here? I just bought it. And I would say I did that before I think I'd spoken to him a few times and had been introduced to him. But that was before I really got to know him closely. But man, that stock ran to 17. Why didn't I sell it all? Because I believed Ham's story, which I still believe. But I really believed that a stock with a large short, counterfeit short, can get so out of control that compliance buys them in. Why did I believe that? Because it used to happen to my accounts. I was a big trader. I had huge accounts. Now, they did it on the long side as opposed to the short side. But the difference is that happened. And by the way, when I give you those superlatives, it's only in the context of my life and back then. I'm sure it doesn't compare to what people have now. But it was brutal. It was brutal when it happened. And it was unrelenting. I just don't think it happens anymore. Let me say that differently. I don't think it happens anymore as a natural course of business. I do think there are situations that come out and surprise and hammer, and then it runs, because they are just human beings too, and they're controlling their risk. So I obviously a GME, an AMC, an HKD, a TOP, and the one I wrote down, can't find it, CHKY or whatever. These happen. They do happen. But I think in large part, the disinterest of regulators, the complete lack of curiosity by Adina Friedman, the patsy-faced bureaucratic response of Robert Cook, and the ever hypergamous handing Gary Gensler, distracted by his own career. There is no enforcement of settlement. And then the broker dealers, your brokers, they're all manned by 12-year-olds, and all the risk has gone out to the hedge funds. The same trading desks became hedge funds. And then those hedge funds, instead of being in-house, creating profit and basically turning the whole brokerage firm into a hedge fund, those trading desks, prop desks, are now outside trading, and they are hedge funds, and it's a concentration of wealth with Fink and Flink and Rubenstein and Griffin and the other sad-faced guy, begins with an L, I think. Anyway, I remember when these guys started, they would start with an offering, and we'd sell it $10, $20, and they'd pitch it to us. Now they don't do it that way, but the money concentrated there. The trading knowledge left the brokerage firms and went to these big pools, but so did the compliance officers. And so the broker dealers just want the trades, but primarily they want to tell you, put your money with us. See this glossy picture? All the men are African American, the women are African American or Chinese, and there's an occasional white guy in all of our literature, but we're appealing to you because you too, the minorities, you too, women, can share in the American dream. You're the last people to the pool. It's just a con job. And look how glossy. Just put your money with us long term. We'll do it. We'll charge you 3%. And we're going to give you exceptional advice. Well, once they have your money in that stored up way, they start trading against it. They lend those shares out. But the big firms have split into broker dealers and prime brokers, so that lending desk, the margin desk, or whatever you want to call it, I'm not clear where it is. It might be both places, but like the redheaded guy says about Goldman Sachs, Patrick Byrne, 86% of Goldman Sachs's revenue comes from the stock loan desk. And all Goldman Sachs is now is a stock loan department, Tony and Vinny and Louie, lending out shares in triplicate, quadruplicate, 10 times. They call that hypothecation and rehypothecation. But they're just lending all out. Hey, boom, 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 boom. Goldman Sachs created the F3 button. Hey, we can't find it right now, but we'll get it to you. And they make money charging interest, trading, obviously, and then charging the hedge funds and the illegal money to do it monthly against the short position, against borrowed stock, but also they get the use of that free credit balance. And that's very valuable. A lot of my clients created free credit balances. And my manager, who was a good manager, would let me know, not right away, but as he got to know me, he let me know it was really a big part of his, I forget what they called it, but it's a big part of his profit margin each month and his bonus, and the regional manager too. There's a name for that, which I can't remember right now, how they make their money and what they call it. But anyway, the compliance people left. The risk really technically left the broker dealers and even the prime brokers. The risk resides at the hedge funds. However, if it gets out of control, what do? Well, they go corrupt the CEO. They get a bunch of cowboys and call them investment relations guys. They corrupt them. They bring in the banjo and a guy with 3 first names who dyes his hair and sounds like Prince Charles. And he says, "It's my fight." And he comes out in front of you and he sucks your money from you for his piece of shit company. There are always companies with contracts. Oh, we got these contracts. We got a great idea. And as soon as we get the money, we can do that contract and that contract. It's all crap. But that guy's now set for life. He's set for life. Absolutely. He's not thinking about you. In fact, he's such a narcissist, he thinks he did a good thing. But anyway, they have these escape valves, and then they go buy out Ann Wagner. There's no analysis, just like no one. I'm reading this book. It's so hard to read at one sitting. War by Bob Woodward. Don't buy it. It's a terrible book. It's not journalism. This is propaganda. And it's really written by a woman who he likes. He says she's Australian and she writes well. I have to give her that. I'm going to keep going, Claire McMullen, my remarkable full-time assistant, tells me all the time. Going to keep going is her motto. A brilliant, gifted writer and lawyer from Australia, Claire, 30, made this book possible. Without her, there'd be no book. She is a genius. Well, I'm sure she is. But she's a 30-year-old woman who's been corrupted by womanism in the educational, and that everything's the patriarchy. And as soon as women take over, everything's going to be better. I'm sure she is. But anyway, the book makes statements like that there's no evidence that the last election was stolen. No evidence. Well, where do you get that from? There's tons of evidence. Well, it's because she's not looking. She's not looking. She's listening to her womanist friends and the simps that back them up. Well, that's what Ann Wagner's doing to our trading markets. She's not looking. Oh, it's privacy. Goldman Sachs tells me it's privacy. And we have a long tradition in the United States of protecting people's privacy. We don't want a big database. I drove a car. I rented a car the other day for the weekend. And I don't know if it's because of my eye or what. I was completely alert, aware, but 4 or 5 times the whole thing beeped, and then it would not allow me to do certain things. The speedometer changed from miles to kilometers. It was hard to read, and it said, "Alert, alert, detecting drowsiness, hit OK to keep going." And I had to hit 2 or 3 times. Everything we do in this country is data. Everything is data about us. We use our computers. As soon as I book a hotel, all of a sudden I see competing hotels when I Google, when I read a newspaper. Everything's data. But Ann Wagner doesn't want to look at the corruption of the trades, just like Bob Woodward doesn't want to look at what happened in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, last election, in Georgia, last election. It's as if he were put in charge of studying creep and Watergate, and Nixon came in and Haldeman came in and said, hey, there's nothing there. That's just a conspiracy theory. It's all been debunked, and there's no evidence. And Woodward went back to his Washington Post and wrote, there's no evidence. It's all lies. Ben Bradley and Kate Graham would never have allowed that. But Bob Woodward is a lazy, he admits he's tired. So I think this is written primarily by Claire. But you're going to get mad if you're hate Trump and all that. But my point is, the evidence is there in the stock market that this corruption goes on. Nobody wants to look. It's been debunked. And in the face of that, they just print money. And anyway, I got off track. It all comes back to, in options and in these small price stocks, if it breaks away, take some money off the table. Don't diamond hand. Don't be like me when Finger went from 20 cents, and I paid a lot more for it than that, but my first positions, 20 cents to 17. I think I sold 1,000 shares, which got my it got my original money back. But why didn't I sell more? Because I was believing my own shit and spit, and can't do that. Ham put out on X, when Trump wins, it could go to 200, 400. Well, Kitteridge, I would ask, you can ask him, but my reaction, why would it stop there? I mean, if it gets out of control, there's no reason for it to stop at 400. But by that time, you should be playing with house money. You certainly should have taken your original money and a profit off the table. But why would it stop? It's going to be a squeeze. I guess one reason it would stop is if Nunez, and maybe that's what Ham's factoring in, because I think he has access to their thought process, is if they want to raise a big block of money. As I'm talking, I'm trying to remember. Something tells me he said at 250. I can't quite remember, but maybe that'll be the tackle at the knees, is they'll raise money when it crosses 250. That could be. And then why not? Make the company a hero. And then go buy Twitter, go buy Tesla, and put Liz Cheney in charge. She's looking for a job. Hey, Mark. GTII filed an 8K. All right, if you want me to, I can read it to you. It's probably self-evident. Oh, thank you, Donna. Oh, Donna. Yeah, thank you. You noticed. So today, speaking of GTII, let's talk about MMTLP. Today I got on Junk Savvy's X space call, Twitter space, and I just signed in. But most of the time when she sees me there, she invites me to speak. So she called me up, and she is amazing at her knowledge, her hard work, um, her ability to put a lot of information together and see what's happening. And then she does a lot of research. She's written 2 articles for Gateway Pundit, and she's truthful, to put it the way I see it. And she's not corruptible. Anyway, she does a great job. Busy Brands was there. He didn't talk. Joanna was there, if I said her name correctly, and she made some good points. Some other people did too. I don't remember all their names. But anyway, she was really talking about MMAT, and I guess they're in bankruptcy. But we had a pretty good discussion on MMTLP. And I guess I want to tell you, if any of you were in it, just a couple of things. One is a bigger picture thing. The commodity space is about to be where money goes. I might be early, but I don't think so. I think after these lemmings who charge you 3% to run your money and then charge 20%, 20 on top of that at a minimum, 2%, 20%. Some charge more. They're all racing to be in the top quintile or the top quartile at the end of this quarter and the end of this year, which is why I think the stock market is going to have a blow-off rally. And you see it in the news slightly. NASDAQ making new highs, new highs. I know because I was here and I was hearing it from you and others that the market was going to go down. I've been a broken record. For a year and a half, 2 years, I don't know. Anyway, I think the market's going to make new highs. They want to make sure they're in that number. When the Dow goes to these highs or the Russell goes to these highs, they want to be in that number so they can get their bonuses and they can keep assets under management so they can make a lot of money next year. But in January, they don't have that. They'll all sit down, they'll listen to their analysts, and they'll be very smart, and the delta this, and the gamma that, and the beta. And we see that over the longer term, money needs to be in, and they'll do a turnaround on oil and gas quicker than Kamala Harris on border security. But I think that's coming next year, as soon as the first quarter. But if they all do it together, they can all do it together, and they don't run the risk of losing their assets under management. But I think it'll come next year. So anyway, with MMTLP slash NextBridge, MMTLP is worthless as used toilet paper, but NextBridge is where you should be. And what these big pools of money aren't going to find is teams with good leadership. A lot of the oil and gas guys like T. Boone Pickens are dead. I think he's dead. You've got Ham at Continental. He already lost half his fortune to a wife. I think he's still in the game, but he's getting on there in age. You've got the guy that owns the Cowboys. But a lot of the teams, so to speak, are young. They're good. They're good. I meet a lot of them. And boy, do they work hard. And one thing I noticed, which I applaud, is a lot of these younger teams have women on them, and I applaud that. It's great. Going through the trenches, learning, you know, uh, uh, not just being appointed up top. It's fantastic. But it's a lot of young guys doing it too. But that wisdom, that knowledge, that Rolodex, that who are you going to call aspect, there's not many left. And I, right now, can offer to people if they came to me to raise money or to advice. I still have contacts out there that are useful. But the scary thing is in 10 years, they'll all be in the home, drooling. And not McCabe. McCabe is young. I happen to know his age. But I won't tell you. But to get a team, and he had a bigger team. He had a couple women on his team, and a couple of younger guys, and accountant type guys. Careful guys. I'm not going to tell you what I think happened, but there's a lot of interference with this project because of the shorts are trapped in their torchlight swindle, in their MMAT purloin, and then in their MMTLP heist. They're trapped. So anyway, get to the point. All right, I'll get to the point. The point is, as these big walls of money, all so knowledgeable, don't you know? And they dressed well and no tie, and I summered in wherever they summered, and we skied in Banff, and we did this and that, and my kid just got into Exeter, and it's everything's hunky dory. Well, we checked with him. Anyway, when they look to fund oil and gas, as soon as everyone owns Exxon, everyone owns Chevron, everyone owns APA, which used to be Apache, as soon as everyone starts going the next step down, Carrizo, Contango, a bunch of them aren't there anymore. Double Eagle, and a lot of these have already been bought up. They're going to run out of names. So then teams are going to, people with an idea are going to come to them. But there's no team. There's no depth. There's no senior guy with white hair, senior woman. There's nobody. So you want to put out your door from Madison Avenue or from wherever you are in Chicago, you want to put $1 billion to work in the oil patch. Where the hell are you going to go? What they do right now is they lend money. They destroyed and I think they're part of it, they destroyed the over-the-counter market, as we've discussed. But they lend money, and it's hard money. Have any of you done real estate? What Wall Street does, okay, here's Ham. Thank God. Aren't you glad? Hello? The Yankees are down 3-1. I've told everybody you're going to call in. Let me get the speaker
Battery 100%. Connected to you. Feels like
All right, you're connected. No, 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 you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. Stupid phone. Okay, now you are.
All right, everyone, I had a 2-hour session at rehab, so the guy beat me up pretty good today, so I'm a little sluggish. But I just can't believe what I'm watching and the attack on DJT that hit 57 yesterday, and today they pushed it down to 38 or whatever the low was. It's just amazing that these guys they just keep playing. And again, I got it. If you want to attack Finger Motion, I got it. Finger Motion's a regular company, regular people. You're going after the President of the United States' stock. And there's not a prayer that they're not going to fight back and go after these people. So I don't even understand who's behind it. It has to be some sort of offshore terrorist group, because no one in their right mind who's a U.S. Hedge fund or anybody that can be followed would be playing this much. It's so close to the end. I don't even understand it.
Yeah.
And it just shows you how the loophole in the system is like the Grand Canyon is so wide. There's no rules. Nobody's here.
Nobody.
These guys have basically sold 100 million shares of this stock today. Right? Think about what they've done. It's traded 100 million shares.
What's that times 35?
At $40. Let's do 50 million shares at $40.
What? How much money is that?
$20 billion.
Good Lord.
I mean, the numbers are massive. Who's throwing these things? Who's doing this stuff? I listen. I'm glad we're 4 days away, but you can see that the boys are stung big time here in that one, and I think the other shorts are just following off the lead of that one. And once they fold in there, then it's easy to fold them all over the place. I mean, I can't. This is what I put up. I don't even know what to say anymore. All I know is that the more they fuck around with Finger Motion, the more I'm going to expose them on KNW and GMGI. The investors there should have to know what's going on to their stock. They have the opportunity to see it and make a decision based on what we know is a fact. And I'm not letting them go. I don't own those stocks, but what I see them do to other companies, you don't stand a chance there. So I'm trying to tell the people, get the hell away from it. Go do something else while you can. Because they're never going to let go. They're entrenched. They should hire an attorney to go after them, use the money that Lynn gave them, hire an attorney, sue Lynn, and then don't give them back any money because they're frauds. But the manipulation, just to watch what they're doing with DJT, it's just amazing. And, Trump is busy doing what he has to do. But Devin Nunes should come out there and they should be speaking today and saying, hey, what's going on here is just unbelievable. And that this has to end. It's remarkable. I can't even, I'm lost for words in what they're doing. I got it. They attacked it down to 12, but that was 2 months before the election. We're down to 4 trading days before the election, and they had the stock down 11 points today, 11, 12, whatever it was. Over nothing. Unsettled trades. They didn't settle the trades. They shorted yesterday 50% more. So I think they're just moving it around. One account's losing, they move it to one account, they buy him in, they short it again. It just seems like it's a big daisy chain of garbage going on here. And it's just remarkable that, and I keep trying to, I think I've told everybody 100 times before, this isn't a stock market, it's a casino. Stocks don't trade like this. The stock went up 25 points, down 11, that's not normal. Where's the SEC? Shut it down. Who's doing what here? What's going on? You're better off shutting it down. At least people have a fair chance. Letting this go on, you can catch it right going up, get wiped out going down, buy it, short it, you get killed either way. It's not even a game. It's not even a legitimate stock market. Stock don't trade like this. This is insane. You know, look at Tesla. They pushed it down to 200. It came out with better than expected earnings. It went to 270. That's how many people were betting against it. They squeeze themselves. When the stocks go up like that, it's not longs rushing in to buy it. Longs are not that stupid. These are shorts covering in a panic. Hurry up, cover me. It's going to 300. Get me covered. I don't want to lose any more. That's short panicking. DJT was short panicking yesterday. Today they reevaluated, so let's do a bear raid again. Hit him again. Keep going until I get back all my money. That's what it's like. Someone screaming in the background. Keep selling until I get back my money. Fuck these people. No one's stopping me. Fuck you. That's whoever it is. And we sitting around. We're watching this horror show, and you can see them manipulating finger motion. But it's very different. They're doing it with 100 share lots, 100, 200, 100, 200 all day long. I posted the data. How do you watch it all day? It's great. You know, and we're all sitting around. Where's the CEO? He's got to come out here and bang a drum, shoot them between the eyes. I mean, what do you want them to do? I mean, I'm with you. You know, if I was the CEO, trust me, I'd be speaking every day about what's going on. But other CEOs don't do that. Devin Nunes doesn't do it. He's got the most powerful man in the world behind him. I mean, so you have to understand where CEOs come from. A lot of these guys don't know the front line of fighting this fight. I happen to be an expert on it. You know, I just don't want to be a CEO. I want to drift into the darkness and see you later. I just don't understand how people don't fight for what's theirs. I fight. I protect my family. I'm trying to protect everyone here. And, you know, we went to the SEC. So I got to put a truck in front of the SEC on election day? Do I have to do something that drastic? Throw that fucking guy out? Hester Pierce, you know, the piece of shit liar. These people, I just don't understand it. How do they let Americans just get robbed? They know all about it. I put a video and I found that Susan Trimbat put up about this guy, Rod Young. His company was attacked. He caught them doing it. They got partners at Smith Barney, were naked shorting his stock. He had all the information. They grinded his company to trash. And the SEC was delisting him for not filing his financials. And they went after him and delisted him because of that. And he's saying, wait a second, I wasn't able to raise money. I've been under attack. Here's all the proof. So instead of saying anything about the attack, they shut him down and wiped out his company. How's that one? Rod Young. I put the video up this morning. Just watch it. Listen to what the guy said. The SEC brought up the enforcement guy. Well, he was supposed to file his financials. And he's saying I wasn't able to raise any more money. How are you supposed to fight and do all these financial reporting when you don't have the money? And he had the proof that they naked shorted his stuff. That was in 2002. I met Rod Young once. Think about that. And they went after him. And they shut him down. That means all the shares they sold, they collected, no taxes, no nothing, no income, nothing. See you later. That's the SEC protect. 2002. Go watch it. It's a little hearing. You can see the whole thing. The commissioners were there. He got it to the highest level. And then they brought some bag wind out. It's SEC enforcement guys say, well, he didn't do his financials, so we have to shut him down. And that was his final ruling, the guy. They got hard work. Everything was wiped out. He wasn't a shyster. He was a good guy. Started a business. Eagle Tech. I think it was something to do with phone communications or something like that. I forgot what he had. And they shut him down. That's what they did to that poor guy. That's the U.S. equity markets. And I told you before, if the battle isn't won in the next 4 days and Trump doesn't win, we're all in trouble. There's not much more to say. The only company I think that could survive this whole thing would be Finger Motion because they can actually pick up and go to a different country. Everybody else is just trapped here. You know, Finger Motion can go to Singapore, Malaysia, South Korea, anywhere. U.S. companies are not going to go there. But Finger Motion has does business in China, so they have good relationships with people outside this country. But the game is so fast. How do you change and move? You can't even get your lawyers on the phone fast enough to address this nonsense. William, the guy had me hanging off the table today. I put the timer on just to check on him. 6 minutes, laying flat on my face, and he had a weight on my ankle, pushing my leg down the opposite way that you normally would bend it. Because he's got to get the bones straight. Man, that hurt. So I spent the rest of the day rubbing my leg, trying to get it back to normal. That's how much it hurt.
So he's a sadistic nurse.
Oh, but he said, listen, you want to get back out there? This is the way you got to do it. I said, all right, let's go. But it was tough. The guy next to me was a police officer, and in New York City, he was laughing because I was screaming, telling the guy, hey, I've been on this thing 5 fucking minutes, get me off. He was laughing at me. But it is what it is. But, it's just remarkable that, again, that the SEC has done zero, corrupt, lazy. I don't even know what to say to these people. Every day I look at the SEC complaints, looking to see Lynn's name up there as an unregistered toxic lender. Lawyers told me to get the companies to sue and go after Lynn as an unregistered toxic lender because they would lose. I just put it up K&W at GMGI. They should sue them because Lynn would lose all the money that they gave them and have no recourse to getting it back as an unregistered toxic lender. And companies don't do anything. What else can I say? Guys don't want to use their money to sue. Just remarkable. I looked at that. We spoke about it yesterday. I told you people were pushing me on GME. It popped to 24 something. And I just believe that every time you buy the dips, you sell the rips. I'm not a short seller, but, do you trust a company that's just sold out to raise a ton of money? I mean, why wouldn't you keep doing it? The shareholders in GameStop were rewarded with the big short squeeze, one of the biggest ever. I think everyone got their prize. The company cannot be in the business of short squeezing forever. So, I think Ryan Cohen has been read the riot act from the SEC, and I think that he has to keep his mouth closed on short squeeze stuff. And I think that whenever it gets a certain point, that he will just keep raising money and cover the shorts. That's my opinion of it. That's what I see trading of it. I have no problem buying the dip, selling the rip, buying some cheap calls because you can see that the longs keep trying to push it and accumulate it. But that's how I see that stock. I know people reach out to me all the time and ask me about it, but that's how I see it. I wouldn't short it. I don't care to own it. I would buy it when they knock it down. You wait a couple of days, you get your 40, 50 cents back up, you sell it, make yourself a day's pay, move along. The company has a lot of money in the bank. It's got a lot of hype from all their shareholders. So until that goes away, there's no reason not to be afraid to buy the dip and sell the rip. DJT, I have no idea what they're doing here. Unless somebody inside the company decided everybody sell it at the market trying to knock it down. Doesn't make any sense. I don't think they would do that, but who knows? Everybody wants that GME, GameStop money. Trump does too. He's got 30 million shares. All he has to do is force the issue. The stock will be $400. And walk away with billions, $12 billion. Why wouldn't you do that? And these guys are making a bet that he won't do that. Man, either they think that other idiot's going to win, or they're going to assassinate him. I have no idea what they're thinking, because it's suicidal what they're doing. Do you have any questions, William?
Are we sure there is only one naked short in Finger?
Yes. How do you know? Just go watch the stock. For the person that just asked that question, think about it. I'm short, you're short. I told you what I'd be doing if I was short. I'd be a buyer here. I'd be scooping up all the stock up to 220, and then I would reshort it at 250 if you guys tried to push it up. You're not thinking like that. That tells you there's only one short. We're both doing the same stupid thing. Multiple shorts have different opinions. That's why DJT took off on a short squeeze. Multiple shorts were in a panic trying to cover. You don't have that in the stock. We have the same person. Both people have the same idea. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, this guy Peter put an order in on Finger at 196. It did get filled, but he was watching it, the time and sales, and they were putting prices around it like 1.9606.
Yeah, listen, the only time you buy it is when they have no choice but to hit it to you. Other than that, they're playing games all around it. It's just terrible. This isn't an equity market. It's all fraud.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We can profit from it. That's what this is about. This isn't. I'm not educating you on the stock market, because this is the furthest thing from the stock market. This is like the Wild West. These guys are putting up trades, make any numbers they want, sell whatever they want. There's no selling, so they make their own selling, right? I mean, it's just ridiculous what you say. But listen, I want you to understand what this thing. I don't want you to be upset about it. Our time is going to come, but it is upsetting, and I want people to feel comfortable about it. I mean, it's hard. I know you see your count. The gentleman yesterday got 90,000 shares down a dime. He's down $9,000 over nothing. I mean, how do you feel about that? Right? You know, you're sitting here.
I'd like to own 90,000 shares.
I'm just saying, but it's brutal.
I know.
I got people with 4 million shares I have to answer to. I mean, they understand it. These are professionals, but still, they're like, how do these guys continue to do this? Everybody says the same thing.
Apparently, they halted DJT twice yesterday.
I think it was more than that. You know, so it's just, you know, I told you before, this is their, you know, their court, their rules. You know, they do whatever the hell they want. The SEC allows FINRA, these guys, to do what they want. Ken Griffin, you got to virtue. They're all doing whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, Gary's saying there might be another attempt on Trump. That might be.
It doesn't make any sense what they're doing. You know, he should just stay in his place. He's got 4 days to go, do Zoom calls, and see you later. It's too important to lose. All I see is people changing votes. What is with this country? It's insane. It's like these people that are doing this stuff don't have kids here or anything like that, you know? It's unbelievable. I don't know. Not me. If I cashed out, I would probably leave the country. It doesn't even make sense to stay here. Someone told me a horrible story of a young girl, 12 years old in Pennsylvania, kidnapped out of a house. The mother was in the other room. And they found her an hour later, murdered by the water in a park, tied up, slit her throat, raped by 2 migrants. Who the fuck would vote for that? Who would vote for that?
Well, they're putting, I'm not there, but I read that 3 busloads of foreign speaking, I assume they were the migrants, were driven to the polling and escorted to the head of the voting line to vote. That's interference, and they're not citizens. How can you be for that?
Listen, where I live, there's a lot of Spanish people, Mexican people, the hard work, and I got it. When you overwhelm the system just to get votes, there's a problem. And that's what we got going on here. And now they're taking away from everyone, whether you go to a hospital and you go there, you have to wait in an emergency room. These people use the emergency room as their doctor's appointment. They don't have doctors. They just go to the emergency room. God forbid anyone in your family's hurt, you got to go there and wait.
Well, look at FEMA. FEMA ran out of money, and they couldn't go to North Carolina. You've got men building roads, not with FEMA money. They're just doing it. And FEMA was spent to haul these people into the country by jet. I don't know. I don't understand the priority.
Well, listen, everything they're doing, they're letting people just rob everybody's pension money, rob your money, trillions of dollars just being stolen. They look the other way. It's just such an easy solution. Stop it. We're going to settle the trades. You get caught, you go to jail. That's it. We got a normal stock market then. If I buy a stock that's a shitty company, shame on me. And in this way, I'll lose my money that way. But to lose it just being robbed on a daily basis is so shameful. At this stage of the game, it's remarkable. And this stage of the game meaning that Trump is going to win. He's going to bring Pat Byrne in, and they're still doing it. And they're not doing it to, they're not killing, let's say, finger motion like they're doing it to DJT. But you're picking the highest profile stock out here? That is unbelievable that they would even try to do that. And continue to do it after they yell about it. How do you do that? I don't even understand how you do it. And I knew when Governor Nunes was speaking, I knew that finger motion needed to be around DJT. And then when they said Pat Byrne's coming in, I knew we had to be there. And that's why I associated us with them. I didn't associate ourselves with GME. I didn't do any of those names. DJT is the stock to be around. So if it's going to go through the gateway, we're going with it. That's the way I look at it.
How would you play it now? Would you play it now? How would you do it?
Oh, in Figamos and DJT?
Yeah, in DJT.
You got to buy the calls. This is when you buy the calls.
Which ones do you buy?
Where's the stock?
The closest maturity, or?
No. You gotta buy ones. I'm sure the 50s were probably $6 yesterday. They're probably $1.80 now, right?
The 50s, so the stock would have to go up 10 points.
Oh, they were priced yesterday. Those things, the stock was 57 yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at something that was 7 points in the money yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's true. Well, and you're only risking $2 instead of.
I think I'm just taking a guess where they would be. I don't know where they are. Yeah. But you got to buy them when it's ugly.
Exactly. That's true. And the best time to buy them is when it went all the way down and no one cared anymore, There was no
So
premium.
whereas
That's the greatest time to buy when there's no premium. But take some
premiums
courage.
coming out of it, the investors are this attack was to get investors to give up on it.
Right.
That's all it was.
Right.
That's the attack on finger motion. They want you to give up. But the problem with finger motion versus DJT, I told you, a lot of wiggle room in $20, $30, $40 stocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
In a $2 stock, where's the wiggle room? Where is it? 10 cents, 2 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents?
Mm-hmm.
There's no room. And I said before, finger motion at $20, it's kind of hairy. Over here, I'm not afraid of it. I'll wait it out. Again, the Chinese government doesn't care about the price of finger motion. Jeff Easton and his buddies cannot shut down what these guys have in China. Excuse me, what they have in China. Pat Byrne put up a story, I think it's up there, where he speaks about how the short sellers are calling up his suppliers, trying to get his order flow shut down. That's how low these guys are. Pat Byrne fought back from that. He fought back from death threats. He fought back from this. He fought back from the SEC attack. Everything. You think he's going to be polite when he goes after naked short selling? Especially when he gets the permission of the president to go hammer them? We're in the right spot. 4 days is like an eternity watching this nonsense, and I got it. Well, I believe the payday is going to be well worth it.
So do you think short sellers are working together in DJT?
I think there's a couple of big ones working together, yes. The small ones got roasted alive.
So what happens in this stock if the big ones suddenly start losing a ton of money every day? Do they never get margin calls because they have such huge assets against their trade, or do they get cash calls?
Oh, they get called. They get called.
And would they just
They get
buy
called.
in? Massive? Yeah. Somebody said here that you said that if Trump wins, DJT could go to 400 or 200 or something. Why would it stop there? Why wouldn't it go higher? That was my reaction.
I was just laughing. There's a story in Fortune saying if the Trump stock goes to zero, he'll lose all his money. So I did the reverse.
I see. Yeah.
I don't own it, but I'll defend him.
Sunil wants to know, can Finger put out a forward-looking statement with all the forward-looking disclaimers?
I don't know what that's their lawyers. Again, the SEC. If you just go watch the ruling against that guy Rod Young in 2002, the guy was naked shorted down. Instead of spending money updating his financials because he really had no financials at the time, the SEC shut him down and then asked one question. He had all the proof of the naked short sellers. He knew who was doing it. The guys at Smith Barney. He actually knows the people. And they overlooked that and they shut him down. Whose side are they on?
Yeah.
How could you not even ask that question? MMTLP. How do you not even ask the question? Hey, who got this thing trading? It wasn't a trading stock. Oh, it was these two market makers. Who are they? Get them in here. Why did you make this trade? Well, we were short. How big short are you? You better tell us now. That's the whole thing. There's nothing else to say. The thing starts trading, gets out of control because people thought there was value there, and they're blaming everyone who bought it. They're going back and blaming John Berger for giving out a dividend that they approved. The SEC's in disgrace. Over and over again. They have an opportunity to do something, and they do nothing. DJT should be shut down and counted how many people own stock versus how many people are short the stock immediately. And if you're short, they should say, listen, by the end of the day, if you're short this stock, you're going to be forced to buy it in where we deem is the possible upside on it. You don't know where it's going to be bought. And they do some auction thing where, hey, We got 100 million to buy, put 100 million out for sale, and maybe they cross the $300. I don't know, but they're gonna do something like that. Not make believe it's not happening. That's what they're doing right now. They're making believe nothing's happening. This guy drove his fingers into the back of my knee, where you need, the back of your knee, where all the, soft tissue. Oh my God, it's so sore. Eesh.
See, you're not so tough. You're not so tough.
I'm sitting here. It's so sore right now, and then I got to loosen it up again by walking again. Then go ride the bike again. Then loosen it up again, and repeat and rinse till 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not fun.
So, have you heard about MLSS? Is that a new soccer league?
That's that Chinese stock. Oh no, MLSS is the one I own. I own it $1. $1.
And you sold it, or you're still in it, or what happened?
I'm here down 18% right now, I guess.
MLSS.
I told you what the guy said. They're going to get a major contract for their epidural with the government. The government's giving money out to everybody. Why not do it to this one?
Because they voted for Trump.
Well, this is for epidurals. Epidurals. Who gets epidurals? Women, right?
Short sellers don't need them. That's one thing.
Yeah, their wives. You give them a fucking piece of wood to bite on. Fuck
them. So there's no more real questions. We're coming into the final 20 minutes.
Listen, I think DJT, if you want to play it, you buy cheap calls. You can see the damage. I said it the other day. The easy money was made. Did I not, William?
You did.
Easy money's made. Now it's the Wild West. Well, congratulations. Now you can see how wild the West is. But the swing from 57 to 40, hedge funds look at that and they'll say the same thing. 57 to 40, I'll take a shot. And that's what you're going to start seeing. People taking shots down here. So if you wanted to take a shot, this is the time to take it. But you got to remember, it can go down 10, you can go up 10, it can go anywhere. And that's why I said, you get in when they're going sideways and quiet. When they go, you sell them. Right? I sold stock for someone as high as 55. 55, I remember I sold 25,000 at 47, and everybody else is lidded between 42 and 55. About 200,000 shares that I know of. And they're like, why are we selling it? I said, you got to lock in the money. You're up 20 points. You got to lock it in. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to do it. If you were rich, you let it go. If you're broke, you got to take the profit. And I made them all do it. So if they wanted to buy some and put some back into it, you make your own determination. Before, when it was going sideways between 20 and 12, I'll draw that range because some people questioned me that I didn't pick down near the bottom, which is hard to pick. Oh, I said to buy it at $12.79. Exactly. No, I did not say that. I said buy them when they don't want it. They were crashing it. I said it every day. And when it started going, you let it go, and look what you had. You had a big winner. GDC popped. What did I say to do? I told everyone, sell it, go into it. Now it pulls back. I said it was a professional stock now. Professional players here.
Yeah.
You want to play with the pros? Good luck. Pros know how to wait. They know how to average. They have plenty of money. We don't. And that's why I say be careful on those names. Any other question?
No, there's a certain lack of questions, actually.
Listen, it's a tough day. I got it. But what really excites me is what they're doing to DJT. How invested. The more they fuck with him, the better it is for us.
So what
But
seat do you have on your flight tomorrow? Is it extra room or are you going to be?
Nah, I'm in the cattle car somewhere. I'll leave out of JFK in the afternoon.
Are you going to be on the aisle so you can walk up and down? Or are you
I'll be on the aisle.
Good.
I'll be on the aisle.
So you can stand up
You know what's gonna happen? Everybody's gonna walk and bump into my leg.
and you're going to be talking to everybody. Oh, I'm in so much pain. And
No, I'm not gonna say anything.
and then you're going to say, have you heard about this stock? You know what they do? These guys are shorting stock. You'll put the whole plane to sleep.
I was thinking about taking a pot gummy, half of it, before I go through the check-in. That's why I could sleep on the plane. It's a 4-hour flight. Oh.
Yeah, but when you get there, you can dive
I'm
into the
actually
ocean.
going to a major party, and there's going to be an A-list entertainer. The cost of this party is somewhere between $2 and $3 million. I don't know who would be an A-list entertainer.
Lionel Richie. You know it's not Puff Daddy.
That's what my son said it was.
Maybe it's Jenny from the block.
I don't know who it is.
It'll be someone young you don't recognize.
All I know is that I'll be around many wealthy, super wealthy Bitcoin people.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll bump into the Wolf guys again.
Oh, you will. You've never met a stranger.
Yeah, I think I'll see them. Too bad I couldn't play pickleball. They're all pickleball players. That's how you get your best scoop, beating the shit out of people on a court. I can't wait to start hitting old ladies again.
Well,
I don't hit old ladies. Be nice, William.
I think you do.
Anybody got anything else? Oh, I just.
Well, they're wishing you. Where are you going? I hope your recovery.
I appreciate it. You know, listen, there's many people that got many more serious injuries than I have, but all I'm saying is that this is, you know, dragging your leg around all day is not fun. You know, it gets stiff. It gets, you know, and this is my biggest complaint about this whole thing of making short selling. That, you know, I wish I could take the time off and actually do a major, you know, rehab, you know, all day long, you know, do it twice a day. I can't afford that. Have a masseuse come in, your massager, trying to keep taking the tension out of it. I don't have those funds to do it. I can only do what the insurance covers me for. Instead, I have to sit here, you know, being aggravated, watching these criminals just basically rob everybody without even a gun and a mask.
All
Yeah.
night long.
And it's just unbelievable that they just don't stop. You know, it's just a disgrace. It's disheartening that as a country we got to watch. This is going on. Listen, everybody, you guys have seen this for 2, 3, 1 year, whatever you've been here. I've been seeing the same motion picture for 24 years. You know, I watched Pat Burns suffer. I watched this guy suffer. This one, that one, you name it. And you know what, Pat Burns, thank God he had the money. He fought through the whole thing. These companies don't have the money. It's impossible. DJT's got the most powerful man in the world, and they're fucking around with him. I can't wait till he wins, and I want to see him destroy these people. This needs to be like a witch hunt. Going to get these guys house to house and drag them the fuck out. That's what needs to happen, because these people have no mercy on anybody here. They could give a rat's ass. They don't give a fuck if you're dying, you need the money. Zero. They could care less. They don't care if your family gets thrown in the street. People committed suicide in MMTLP. People lost their homes in MMTLP. And they still can't, they still don't do anything about it. And they're protecting billionaires. How is that crazy? To me, is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. Politicians all signed up. Yeah, we want to support you. Not one person supported. They all signed a piece of paper, did nothing. Their own families get robbed. They don't. No one says anything about it. Just amazing. You know, finger motion every day. 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, 2 cents, 5 cents, 10 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents. The stock has been nothing for sale, and it goes down. There's no stock for sale. They just mark it down every day. They hit everybody's bids. I had a friend buy 10,000 today, up around 2. They hit them and marked it straight down. They didn't. After they sold him, they knocked him out because they knew he would support the stock. They don't sell it down. They sell 200, 100, 300, 200, 100. If you're short 230 million shares at $3.80, what's the big fucking deal selling 100 shares at $2? Doesn't make a difference, right? And that's how these guys are looking at it. And that's why they push it down from 240, because the real short is in trouble. And they're trying to protect that real short. Anyway, how much longer do we have, William?
Of listening to you?
Yeah, I'm just starting to babble.
Maybe 1 minute. The market closes in 1 minute, but you're welcome to talk for longer.
I will talk for the other minute. I'm walking around trying to loosen up my leg. It gets tight, but I will continue to berate and expose Lynn Partners. They have the deals with K&W, GMGI. I want those shareholders, the CEOs, to know who they're dealing with. I'm not letting them get away. They want to be scumbags. I'm going to let everybody know they're scumbags. And all they have to do is look at SYTA. They reversed it 1,000 times.
SYTA?
SYTA, what was the high on it, William?
I have no idea what this stock is.
SYTA, what was the...
I'm looking. Relax, everyone. The high for the year was 95.
$95, correct?
Yeah, I can't.
Where is it today?
I can't look backwards on my phone. 118.
So $95 to $1.18. That's it rallying. It's been in 90 cents for a while. So they reversed that stock who knows how many times. And these guys are proud of themselves.
Is that
the Lynn Partners?
Yeah, it's Lynn Partners. I'm sure they say. I guarantee you I can find a quote from Philip Vallier saying, "We are terribly excited to be involved."
Right. That's all they ever say.
It's the same quote.
We're excited, and they turn around and say, "What do you do?" That's what they say. How much money we give you? We don't even care. Take more.
I hear it. Sayeta Mobile receives $6 million from Lynn Partners in 2021. And guess what he says? "We are pleased to provide this investment." The company is at such an exciting inflection point. The company has a promising product portfolio in a multi-billion-dollar emerging market, said Philip Vallier, the anointed liar from managing director at Lynn Partners.
Right. Now he says the same quote.
Every single time it's the same quote.
They cashed out. Everyone else got wiped out. Nice guys. And they make statements as though they're angels. You need us. That's what it's all about. Anyway, William, I had enough of the day between pain, aggravation, Lynn Partners. I had enough. Hey, when did DJT close at?
It closed with a flourish at $40.03. It's up 9
Boy,
cents.
they want every option to be worthless. Wow, they're not fooling around.
Well, now it's
All right,
up 7 cents.
Yeah. All right, everyone. I had enough. Have a great night. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Call ended.
All right, I'll read 3 things. We'll go over GTII. We can go over, I'm going to go walk my dog. I've got a stupid thing I got to do in the morning tomorrow. Don't type so loud. Can you not type so loud? No, I'm sorry. It's always an action. It's an action scene in movies when people type. It makes them look like they're really doing something. Problem is, I don't know how to type. Okay. Let's turn that down. Let's go in here. And then I'm going to remove this. And then I'm going to say, got it. I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to present to you. Somebody asked me to go over the 10K for GTII. We can do that. This is it. On September 18, 2024, a British Virgin Islands LLC filed against Reichman. So I'm going to assume those are the good guys. White Rocks are the good guys. And they probably represent the whales. And they put Paul Strickland in as the receiver. Paul Strickland is a guy that does shells and was referred to the whales by an attorney in, I think, Arizona. And I've spoken with him a number of times. He's very detail-oriented and hardworking, and I think he knows what he's doing. I also called in to him and asked if I should put my name in for CEO and all that, and he said, "Please don't. I've got it under control." So I didn't put my name in the ring at all, out of respect to him. In addition, in accordance with the receivership order, the receiver removed David Reichman, Kathy Griffin, Frank Benintendo, a different guy, Donald Gilbert, and Luke, the plant from the shorts, in my judgment, Ashfin, Luke, Rubari, from all positions. So the receiver has to assume full control of the company. Equity receiver over all assets of the company, over everything. The court asserted exclusive jurisdiction, which that's why I feel like it's so much like a bankruptcy court. So management and the company are enjoined from issuing securities, debt. Anyway, you can imagine they have no power of the pen anymore. No suit may be brought against the receiver for any action. Okay, this is good, guys. The receiver is directed to cure the delinquent filings with the SEC. This might allow GTII to start trading away from the expert market, so you can start trading if you wanted to. Everyone has to cooperate. They're going to go through the accounts and funds. He's going to do a forensic study, and he's good. I think he'll do a good job. Wow. So Paul Strickland could get 10% of all receivership assets, plus 10% of all securities. So he might be a wealthy man. He could make millions of dollars here. No wonder he wanted it. Well, it's nice to be the king. So Paul's like anyone else, he's in it for the money, and he's going to get 10% of the value of all receivership assets, and that could be tens of millions of dollars, and then 10% of all company stock and securities, and that could be hundreds of millions. So Paul stands to become wealthy by being the receiver. Nice job if you can get it. Good on Paul. I would. The only good thing I can say about that is, I guess he's slightly cheaper than the deal that Rubari got out. I hate all of these. It makes me sick. Why does Paul deserve 10% of the money you put in? Why? Right. That's our system. The good news is he'll be aligned with you. So if he wins, you get 90% of the assets. He gets 10%. Wait till the receiver gets his cut or her cut. I'm telling you, it's a feast. It's a feast for the lawyers, the receivers. He's probably knew this was coming. He's going to get 10%. I think it's disgusting that he gets 10%. I think he should be paid it should be capped at an amount of money, but whatever. Good on him. So he's going to get wealthy. You were going to suffer. But like I say, the good news is at least his interest. He's going to go out to make sure that he becomes a wealthy man. And as he does that, those assets will come to shareholders, presumably. All right, I wanted to show you. All right, I wanted to show you this. This is Goldman Sachs. See up here? Goldman Sachs up here. Geopolitics, October 29. Gold predicted to climb higher than expected as records shatter. Gold is forecast to climb higher than previously expected as central banks in emerging markets have ramped up purchases. Gold usually trades closely in line with interest rates. As an asset, which doesn't offer any yield. See, this is the crap they teach you in the West, and they teach you in economics. But anyway, that's what everyone goes on. Here's gold. It doesn't pay you anything, so you don't need an analyst until they're too late. I mean, gold is now at 2,700. Where was Goldman Sachs when it was 1,800, 1,500? They weren't there. But they'll charge you an arm and a leg. All right, so gold as an asset which doesn't offer any yield, it typically becomes less attractive to investors when interest rates are higher, and it's more desirable when interest rates fall. While that relationship still holds, I wonder how old this analyst is, central bank purchases have been a powerful force, resetting the level of gold prices higher since 2022. Goldman Sachs research analyst Lena Thomas writes in her team's report. Let's go find out how. Let me just look her up here. Lena Thomas, linked in. All right, there she is. I can't find her. All right, let's go to Lena Thomas. Goldman Sachs. There she is. She went to Harvard. Brilliant. Department, Harvard Economics. And Lena Thomas is a visiting fellow in the Department of Economics at Harvard University and teaches in the American Economic Policy course with Jeffrey Liebman and Lawrence Summers. She taught macroeconomics at the Harvard Kennedy School and the Stockholm School of Economics. Her research primarily focuses on international macroeconomics and behavioral finance. She has co-authored research on domestic dollarization in emerging markets, currency risk dynamics, global economic shock spillovers, and patterns in investor behavior. She is a PhD candidate in economics and will defend her PhD thesis titled Rates, Dollarization, and Investor Behavior this year. Let me see if I can find, I'm trying to find her age. She looks 12, but obviously she's not 12. Well, I can't tell. She's very young looking. She's a very young looking analyst at Goldman Sachs, and she's clearly been immersed. She's clearly smarter than I am. I studied economics, but it's the Western thought, the Keynesian thought, the modern monetarist theory, all of that gold doesn't matter. So welcome to gold, Lena. All right, so I don't know where Goldman was when gold was here. I was predicting it would go higher, but I'm not as smart as Lena. Anyway, so here's Goldman Sachs. The gold price is in the dark navy blue. The 10-year real yield is in the pale blue, the light blue. And so the price went up as yields came down, I guess is her thought. She does notice the freezing of Russian central bank assets. That's probably a much bigger ploy. What is the prediction for gold prices in 2025? The precious metal is predicted to rise to 3,000 by year-end 2025. That's a very daring prediction, Lena. It's a 27. So you're going to predict it goes up less than 10%? Guys, you've got to stop being impressed by PhDs and by Western economics, at least for the short term. This kind of thinking is going to lull you to sleep. I really believe you need to own all commodities, but gold, you got to own it. They're going to reprice it. And her $3,000 target that she writes in the third person, she'll be writing a report just after she defends her PhD. She'll be writing a report when gold's 10,000. Because she's brainwashed by Western economic thinking. And her training doesn't prepare her. And, I mean, she's not the only one. She's not the only one. Gold has risen to multiple all-time highs this year. And so in her experience, she's going to predict 3,000 in 14 months. Terrific. Or within 14 months. Thomas points out that the relationship between changes in the gold prices and changes in interest rates still exists. Really? Really? It's highly doubtful when most wealth advisors have in their, as a total, have less than 0.5% of their clients' assets in gold. It's what's more likely is there's zero relationship between gold and interest rates over the last decades. But anyway, sizable central bank purchases of gold bars have reset the relationship between the rate and the price levels to 2022. And she went to Harvard. Central bank purchases have nothing to do with interest rates. It has no connection. I'm not sure I should read the rest of this. Why has the price of gold increased? Concern about the risk of financial sanctions is likely one of the reasons central banks have increased their buying of gold. You think that has something to do with it, or is it interest rates? Oh my gosh. Emerging market central bank purchases of gold have risen notably since the freezing of Russian central bank assets. Thank you very much, Gloria Newland, in 2022. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, it doesn't say following the US-led coup replacing the Russian leader with Zelensky, does it? All right. That's a useless graph. Thomas points out central banks in developed markets have tended to have relatively high holdings of gold as a share of reserves. For instance, the United States, France, and Germany and Italy have gold holdings which make up 70% of their reserves. Their emerging market counterparts have smaller shares. For example, China has 5% of reserves in the metal. Seen this way, some central banks in emerging markets are catching up to their counterparts in the developed countries. Well, the United States, as the world's reserve currency, doesn't hold US reserves in dollars. They print them. I'd have to study this sentence more. But you're talking about the world's debtor nations, and gold makes 70% of their reserves. That is a non sequitur. I don't want to go through it, but I'll think about it overnight, or I'll try to do some research on that. That's a crap paragraph. But I'm sure she'll be a smart PhD. Policymakers are concerned about the debt sustainability of the United States. Many central banks have the bulk of their reserves in US Treasury bonds. So why would we have reserves of Treasury bonds? We don't. We issue them. We're a debtor. She says here, we have a 35 trillion in debt. So to the extent we have reserves, it's our gold that we say we have. This is a weak analysis. All right, UK exports of gold bars suggest emerging market central bank purchases have driven prices. Oh my God, this is horrible. This is terrible research. With the US presidential election in focus, Western investors are returning to gold. Gold may offer hedging benefits against geopolitical shocks. Oh my gosh, she's terrible. This is terrible. Many Western investors have been nervous about chasing gold prices higher, Thomas says. Where do you get that? Did you do a study? Some think they missed the rally and are wary of buying gold at all-time highs. Some are also struggling to make sense of gold prices because they have idiotic PhDs that don't even understand the subject, which began in 2022 to diverge from their traditional relationship with interest rates. There's no relationship there. Chiquitita. The Goldman Sachs research expects gold holdings in Western exchange-traded funds to gradually increase as interest rates fall. I'll make a prediction. They're gonna increase regardless of interest rates, falling or going up, and they're gonna happen rapidly. But this is just the drivel. she'll never correct herself. This would be in line with their historical relationship. There's no relationship. Her argument is people don't buy gold if interest rates are high because they can earn high interest rates on their bonds, and to buy gold you have to pay to store it. That's not the relationship. The relationship is stability. The relationship is gold isn't going anywhere because the financial markets are stable, the world is stable, and you can make these fantastic returns in the stock market while inflation is under control. And Western advisors at Goldman Sachs don't tell their clients to buy gold. They will. They will. But it'll be at the highs. It'll be as gold goes to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. And then she'll be writing a report about the relationship of $20,000 gold with interest rates. And she will get her PhD at Harvard Economics. And she'll be running our country's policy. Ugh. That said, Goldman Sachs Research expects gold holdings in Western exchange-traded funds to gradually increase, even as central bank buying of gold may be moderating. Are you kidding? It's accelerating. There could be some competition for gold bullion between central banks and Western investors as gold ETF holdings begin to climb. This is crap. Long-term investors are now interested in holding gold because interest rates are lower. PhD candidate Thomas says. At the same time, central banks' holdings are probably still going to pile up. Oh my God. Oh my God. She is terrible. Where's her name? Lena Thomas? There it is, Lena Thomas. Goldman Sachs research analyst Lena Thomas. Guys, you can't read research and believe it. Here she is. There's Lena Thomas. And she's giving you advice on gold. At least she says it's going up. Commodities tend to rally when inflation is boosted by economic growth. Good Lord. All right, let's see. She's saying these are hedges: gold, energy, agriculture, industrial metals. You know, I've been saying that to you, and I don't have my PhD. But hey, a sweep by Democrats could lead to significant increases in corporate taxes, which, along with tariff increases, could be negative for stocks. And they were predicting that gold would appreciate to 2,700 an ounce by year end, an increase of 16%. Well, they were right about that so far. Goldman Sachs sees an opportunity in oil. Oh my gosh. Let's get away from terrible research. Terrible. I think Arthur in one of his movies says, "Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. I just can't remember. I can't remember the scene." All right, let me see. There was one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. That. I think maybe that was it. I did GTII. I did the gold forecast. All right, let's call it that. And then Peter Sachs said something, and I forget his question, but I wanted to point out that your point of view might be just a tad bit U.S. centric, and I say that respectfully. And her report is U.S. centric. What I'm trying to get across, we're wrong. We are wrong. We're used to driving the bus. What Putin is doing is he's creating an alternative. He remembers what the banksters did to Russia. You think Ham remembers what the shorts did to his company? Putin's on a mission, and we're not going to come out well unless we change transparency, we have settlement, we have real markets, and we enforce our laws instead of letting all the money go to Blinkenfield or whoever's running Goldman Sachs. All right, let me, I know what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you John Hathaway. And I thought I had already gone to find it, but okay. It's because I shut this. I'll put it up there. Okay. I want to just show you this. I don't know why that's making that noise. Let me turn the volume down. I just want to show you this. Let me zoom in a little bit. This comes from Sprott Asset Management. And I'll just try to zoom in a little bit more. I don't know this interviewer. She looks highly intelligent. I don't know who that is. But anyway, this is John Hathaway, who I've followed for a long, long time. He never ages. So Sprott's John, and this is dated February 24. And this interview, we will find her name, but this is a transcript of her interview with John Hathaway. And he's describing the disconnect between the gold price and the miners, the gold stocks. And I wonder if she's the daughter of Alistair McLeod. She could be. So her name is Charlotte McLeod, and she's with investingnews.com. And she's interviewing John Hathaway, managing partner at Sprott and senior portfolio manager at Sprott Asset Management. Excited. A friend sent me your report on gold. When I read it, I thought it would be great to go through for our audience. John Hathaway, I've been doing this for 25 years. This is the greatest disconnect I've ever seen between the price of gold and gold stocks, miners. Charlotte, all the more reason to talk about it. What are the reasons? Compared to previous bull markets, gold miners have been cleaning up their balance sheets. All right, John Hathaway. One of the biggest culprits is passive investing. This is what I wanted to tell you about. So the question, just to clarify, is people see a high gold price, historically high, Charlotte says, and then people wonder what the heck is going on with gold stocks. It's a good question Charlotte has. So then Hathaway says the biggest culprit, the biggest explanation is passive investing. And that's true of a lot of what's going on in the market. There's a piece in the Financial Times. I don't subscribe, but I do remember reading something related to this, saying that passive investing dominates the markets today and it doesn't favor smaller sectors. The market cap in gold mining is, look at this. The market cap in the gold mining sector is about the same as that of MasterCard or Home Depot, Home Depot. Another factor for this disconnect is the first gold ETF was launched. Before the ETFs, it was difficult for equity investors to position the macro thesis behind gold without owning gold stocks. But gradually over the last 20 years, it has become easy to buy gold, GLD, or another ETF, and it's taken a lot of the thinking out of the equation. That's true. And also, I think a lot of these ETFs have paper gold and paper shares. I think the shares they own, they relend. I think ETFs are a big source of fraud. It's fair to say that gold-backed ETFs have cannibalized demand for gold mining equities. So Charlotte says, that's interesting. John Hathaway, you mentioned crypto, which has certainly taken some of the air out of the room for gold mining stocks. That's especially true for the generation under 40. People under 40 are going to buy crypto. What could the gold miners do to make themselves attractive? Frankly, they're already attractive. I don't think they could do a whole lot more. They should be buying back stock because their stocks are so cheap. There's a better return on capital for the gold miners by buying their own shares back than investing in a new mine. He calls it semi-liquidation. Why build $1 billion new gold mine? It takes up a lot of capital and takes on risk. Whereas buying back undervalued equity provides a sure return to investors. That's a way of taking advantage of the fact that nobody cares. That makes sense to me. These companies are penalized for growing. They can only sustain themselves by investing heavily in new mining assets, and returns on a new mine don't become apparent for 5 or 10 years. Charlotte. John. Looking at other industries who were out of favor, you could talk about the base metals, mining, base metals mining, steel, oil, gas. They're all engaged in share buybacks to create value that way. Charlotte, it's really interesting. I'm told that the gold price is high, but we need to see it higher. Maybe that's when stocks will start moving. John, a higher gold price, but we have higher gold prices. I can't remember how many days we've closed above the magic number of $2,000 per ounce, but it's been at least 60 days. And it hasn't done a darn thing to generate interest in mining stocks. These lemmings are all following NVIDIA together, but they're going to recognize the opportunity as they make their plans for next year. But they've got in NVIDIA until they book their profits, so they get their bonuses and they stay in the top quintile. Then they're going to change. That's why you got to act now. Somewhere along the way, higher gold prices will generate interest in gold mining stocks because gold mining stocks are leveraged to the gold price. And that's the conundrum. What we have what we've always wished for. One of my partners said, quote, "The only reason anybody should own a gold stock is because they expect the gold price to go up." He was right then, but he's not right now. Look, this disconnect is going to catch up lickety split. But at some point, higher gold prices will lead to incredible cash flow and profitability. So this tiny space will catch somebody's eye. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Somebody's eye. Stanley Druckenmiller has started to sell his Magnificent Seven stocks. He's starting to buy the big cap names in gold like Newmont and Barrick. I'd like to think he's right. He's usually right. But still, passive investing dominates the markets. Because the space is small and the market cap is tiny collectively, it's hard to attract capital flows. But it doesn't take a whole lot to generate potentially outsized returns. So you got to act on it. And you can get in a fund like his I'm trying to remember the name of his gold fund. Oh gosh. Anyway, you can get into the ETFs or some of the stocks we've talked about. All right, you bring up the Fed and this narrative of higher interest rates being a headwind for the gold price, but it hasn't hurt the gold price. In fact, we've had higher interest rates for a long time. And despite that, the price of gold is trading at record levels. Higher gold prices have happened without participation by investors in the Western capital markets. Sorry. Why has the gold price gone up? It's gone up because central bank buying is taking place at record levels. I guess the question is, why are central banks buying when no one else is? They're doing it as a way to diversify away from the United States dollar because our leadership is destroying the credibility of our dollar. So they're buying gold to diversify from the US dollar and settle trade balances in gold, not in US treasuries. Thank you, Victoria Nuland. Thank you, Kamala Harris. I read recently that 20%, that's huge. That is huge. That is huge. 20% of all oil is now traded away from the US dollar. Guys, your world is changing. Your world is changing while we argue whether Donald Trump is a misogynist. It's unbelievable. We have gold trading at record prices, and the level of interest in the Western capital markets is negative. This is what's going to change, guys. Sentiment is going to change on a dime. Gold-backed ETFs have lost assets for the last 2 years, yet the gold prices increase. Just imagine what could happen if people in the West decided they should own gold. It's hard to say when it will happen. But remember, when gold peaked 10 years ago, Western investors were heavy buyers of ETFs, which helped propel gold to its 10-year peak. Should this happen again? We could guess all day as why it wouldn't, but I'm happy to give you some thoughts. It wouldn't be unbelievable to think of gold trading in a sustained range north of 2,500, say 2,500 to 3,000. If people in the West decided they wanted to increase their exposure to metal, should that happen, I wouldn't need to guess too hard to see what would happen to gold mining shares. Charlotte, eventually they're going to move. John, big cap, okay. How will it play out? John Hathaway, the big cap names, Barrick and Newmont, have been dogs. They dominate GTX, the VanEck Gold Miners ETF. That creates a negative impression for the space. But if you look down deep into the components of GTX, smaller companies, mid-cap and smaller, they're holding up pretty well. That's a sign of how inexpensive they are. Maybe they're better managed. Maybe there's more ownership. I think that the ray of sunlight I would point to is the relative performance. I'm skipping some of this. You just mentioned jurisdiction. And then he says, but the rule of law is a vanishing concept in many parts of the world. Sad to say, but true. Therefore, we think investors will appreciate the difference between one jurisdiction versus another when they return to the gold space. Right now, nobody cares. And then Charlotte, I want to touch on M&A. Some gold companies that were bought. John, we've seen two kinds of mergers. One is a merger of equals, where there's no value creation, they're done at no premium, and there's no synergies. On the other hand, Caliber buying Marathon is an example of a smart merger. I'm going to skip over these stocks. So that's what I'm thinking of. Mergers that are value creating, and I think we'll see more of that. Instead of starting from scratch to build a new mine, there's a huge discount for buying existing operations in the market. we figure as much as 30 to 50% versus starting from scratch. Look, this is a lot like a real estate market. Initially, you can go out and buy and flip homes before you have to go out and new build. It's a stretch, but it's a similar idea. Thank you for going through that. If you're a contrarian, it's an easy trade. Sell the Magnificent Seven like Druckenmiller did and look for something discounted. It's not just the gold and mining space. You could talk about oil and gas. You could talk about some cyclical names. There is some potential in the world of banking. We've been reading how commercial real estate is in trouble. In a way, you could have the combination of the dot-com crash and the global financial crisis combining to turn consensus investment banking upside down. That would lead investors to look for diversification, which gold represents. Nobody in our corner of the world is there. A small trickle of interest driven by a couple of possibilities might cause things to change. I believe that's the scenario I would point to for the gold mining industry and gold itself to return to favor. Charlotte, thank you for tying it together. John, I appreciate it. All right. I did it. I did my duty today. I tried to educate you on something. All right, Lucky, we'll go out. Let me just see any questions. I forgot GTII had no debt. Yeah, this guy Strickland is going to get rich doing this. Hopefully you guys will make a few monies, but this is really a game between the receiver, and I assume the judge will make some money, the lawyers, and the whales. So I hope the crumbs make some money for shareholders. I'm not optimistic. Paul Strickland's incentive is to find assets, to find them as big. Let's say he finds 100 million assets that were stolen or misappropriated. He gets $10 million. His job isn't to make sure those assets go to you, but I guess the lawyer would then drive it to the court and say, we've got to give that to the bondholders and the shareholders and the employees. But then how much is the lawyer going to take? 40%? So if it's 100 million, Paul gets 10 million, the lawyer gets 40 million, the court probably takes 5 million. So then that's 45 million to be divided out amongst 400 million shares. And the 400 million shares will be reduced. Guys, Paul's going to get rich. The lawyer's going to get rich. And son of a bitch, we're going to have to come up with a way of bringing some assets in to make sure everybody makes money. John, I'm not going to talk about any of the stocks other than DJT that I talk about. I'm just not going to talk about any of them. Do I hold my DJT? I'm down so much now. How can you be down? You bought at the top? I can't give you advice if you're that bad at trading, but I would say, not knowing anything about your portfolio or what drives you to make investment decisions, buying at the absolute peak of excitement, and now you're complaining that you're down, I would say your instincts, you shouldn't be trading. But having said that, I do think DJT is going to go up. I do think it's going to go up. And you should, maybe if you have money, buy some here to take advantage of it to sell quickly. You can sell calls against your position. You could sell tomorrow's calls against your position. But if you paid what, $50 and now it's down $20 and you're complaining you're down so much, it's time to go into survival mode. Sell calls, maybe do some little trades, buy the dips, sell the rips. I don't know. If you want my opinion where DJT could go, as long as Donald Trump is alive, I think the stock can go to $70 and maybe $100. I personally believe Kamala Harris is going to be your next president, but I hope I'm wrong. I don't think the election results will be announced on Tuesday night. So you probably have a couple of weeks at least, maybe 3 weeks, to trade out of this disastrous trade you got into. There is a historical relationship with silver and gold. Yeah, I agree with you, not with interest rates. But they don't know what they're talking about. That's the problem with modern economics. What's happened is the plenitude of oil has allowed us to create this beautiful modern system, but it's disconnected us from everything. Nobody works. Men and women used to work on the farm and in the ditches and in the shops, and the lords and knights lived in the castle. The rest were out working. And that's the patriarchy. And that's when men were so unfair to women. And now that oil has made us all rich with its bounty, it's time for payback. So women and young men, I mean, it's also young men. And I went back to my school this weekend, and it's a great economics department. But God, they're going to be training people to go into research, and it's a nightmare. Because I'll read you what the modern monetary theory is. It's all nightmare crap. Because it works in this illusion that extra oil's given us, where you just turn on the light, turn it off, turn on the TV, pick up your phone, order Uber, order food. And it's gone on now for 100 years. Will it continue? I hope so. But if we ever get to a point where the world is fighting over oil and we don't have a replacement, a lot of this modern economic theory is just, it's going to be rewritten. But I'm too tired to talk about it right now. Should be they hypothecate them. Okay. Sorry, I misspoke. I do appreciate being corrected, by the way. You can correct my English any day. How soon can they put a company in GTII? I think Paul Strickland is going to go after every single asset he can get. And I think that's going to be a legal battle. I think that's going to be a threat to Reichman and the others. But if you're Paul Strickland, are you going to stop searching at $1 million when you see $250 million out there? All Paul has to do is to find receivership assets stolen in whatever at 250 million, and Paul's worth $25 million. I don't think there's a company going into GTII quickly. I think Paul, I mean, now the whales are going to drive him and try to control him. But I think Paul's motives and his interests are clearly driven by becoming a wealthy man, locating the assets that you funded that were misappropriated. And maybe it's because I haven't eaten all day, but I think Paul's going to get wealthy, and he's going to take his sweet time making sure he gets as much of that as he can get. That's the system. You can't blame him. That's what the court wants. They feel like making him wealthy is going to make sure that the court finds all the assets. And, you know, he's just doing what he's appointed by an attorney that someone I know found so no wonder he didn't want me to get involved. But I find it sickening, just like I found it sickening that, and I'm not judging Paul, I found it sickening that Rubari was going to make $20 million if the stock got to $2. Paul's probably going to make more. So you're just trading out one guy sucking on the carcass for another guy. It may be the system, but I think it sucks. I think it's crap. But anyway, I can't change it. We have to live with it. Now, of course, Paul's risk is he only finds $10,000 and then he doesn't make any money. But Paul knows the money's there. There's a lawsuit. He knows all that. So I think he's probably stepped in it. I think he's going to become a wealthy man. But what does it mean to your question? Companies that want to come into a shell, like some of the ones I used to talk to you about, they want a clean shell. They want a shell with no lawsuits, no bruises, no soft spots. They want an apple they want an apple they can bite into. And so they don't want a shell that's stuck in court. They don't want a shell where there's a fight over assets. If I were Reichman, I'd be pissed off that I'd have to give up 10% of assets potentially. And I may be misreading what I just read, misunderstanding what I just read. I mean, I think Paul's a hardworking guy, and I think best I can tell from my interaction with him, I think he's an honorable guy, and it pisses him off how much was stolen. But if the stolen assets are part of the receiver assets, Paul's going to come out of this wealthy. And I think that gives him an incentive to work at it for a long time. Now, it may be an incentive to do it quickly if he wants some cash. But as he's running the company, I'm sure he'll put into the judge, I want 25 grand a month, or whatever number he comes up with, and expenses paid. So Paul's life has changed, and bravo to him. But his job is to clean up the shell. Now they're going to take interviews, and they're going to have Trento Mine in there giving you a talk on Friday. You should listen to him. I don't think any company who wants to take advantage of the public markets will go into GTII quickly. If, however, the whales decide that they have a company, and maybe it's Trento Mines, and they're willing to put up the money, maybe they pull this out of receivership, they cut a deal with Reichman, and they give Paul a big salary and a big part of the company so that Paul can make $50 million. You could make a deal like that. I really think the one you should think in terms, we all should, of writing off our investment in GTII this year. You got to seek professional advice. You can't sell your stock. So I think you can write it off without selling it. But your cost basis becomes zero, and then your time clock becomes day one when you do it. But we have to try to make money back elsewhere. This is going to be Paul feasting on the whale's willingness to put up money. Paul will make money with the whales, or Paul's going to make money defining the receivership's assets. That's how I see it. Now, what's in it for the whales? Well, they own a lot of GTII. But what I'm suggesting to you, I don't know why the whales need to make the money back in GTII. If the whales have a company and they want to back it, they can put it in one of Paul's other shells, give Paul 10 or 15 per 5% of it, 10% of it, and back that, and that's going to work. So then I know the next question. Well, doesn't GTII have a huge short position? And won't the bringing a company in trigger a massive short covering rally? Yeah, maybe. But look what the shorts have done. They've bought time. They moved the position from the Kramers to Alpine. Alpine put a lawsuit in Florida. Now it's in DC. I'm sure all the money's been moved around. So here's what's going to happen. And I personally, we'll find out whose side Paul's on. I think Paul will move for it. Reichman will move for it. Let's do a reverse split. Let's clean up the shell and take it from whatever it is, 1 billion shares. I don't know how many shares they have authorized. And let's do a 1 for 20 reverse split. That'll mean that the shorts will be able to take 95% of the money they stole out of their prime brokers. And is there going to be a short squeeze then? No. They don't have any assets to protect anymore. They've taken all their money out. It'll be a managed buy-in, a rolling buy-in. It'll all be under control. That's my opinion right now. I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm distracted by my dog. Let me think about it overnight, talk to some people. I'm going to be busy with lawyers tomorrow morning. So I don't know when I'll have time, to give you a good answer. But let me hold off give me some days to process it all. But I think this is a money-making machine for Paul, money-making machine for the court and the lawyer. I think equity will be last. I find it highly unlikely that GTII will be financed without cramming down equity. It's just how I see it. Now, it's possible the whales will come in and do you a favor. Listen to Toronto Mines on Friday. And then the other thing that I don't get is I don't see the difference between receivership and bankruptcy. It looks like receivership allows the receiver to get rich if there's assets there. And the lawyer, maybe the judge, I don't know. Down in Louisiana, the judge was in on the deal. Hey, where's my envelope? I don't know. I'm going to have to, I don't want to do it right now, but I'll have to sit down with a pad of paper, write down all my thoughts, and try to come to a conclusion that makes sense. I'm just rambling with thoughts off the top of my head right now. But I don't see why the receivership wouldn't be converted into a bankruptcy to cleanse the shell. And then where do the shorts go? They disappear. Look, the criminals have done this to company after company after company. That's why Seth Kramer was walking around like John Gotti when I saw him up in New Jersey. They're not worried. That's my reaction to one. Now, could a team working with the whales, working maybe with Paul, working with a new shell, working with an asset, invite shareholders in at a cheap price, or maybe just give shareholders gratis ownership? Maybe. There are strategies that can make you whole and maybe make some money. I don't like this one at all. I don't like it at all. And I feel the fingerprints of the shorts on it. The prime mover of Trento, I think, summarized what I met with him in New York, and I think he got to the heart of it. Let's meet with Reichman and see what he wants. That's the way to do it. And then you cut a deal. No one likes the deal, but you cut it with everybody. You bring in assets, and the shorts haven't been able to cover. You don't do any reverse splits, and you set about making the stock worth $25, and the shorts are in trouble. But once it's in the court system, and I assume Paul doesn't work for the shorts, but there's no guarantee. I assume the lawyer in Arizona doesn't work with the shorts, but there's no guarantee. But I know the guy that chose them, and I'm highly confident that the lawyer and Paul don't. Well, I don't know. You don't know me exactly. I could be working for the shorts. I'm not. But how do you know? You don't know. They're everywhere, those shorts. The one, I'm going to say it's going to take at least 18 months and maybe 2.5 years before they can put a company in GTII. But I'll try to come up with a way that people can make money prior to that. If I had been put in charge of GTII, I wouldn't be taking 10% of assets found. I wouldn't be taking the 20 million that other jerk was going to get. I would be working to bring in assets, catch the shorts short, and making sure you guys got something. But that's not how everyone else is thinking. And that's not how the law is set up. Receivership is not set up so there can be a short squeeze. So right now, Paul controls it. Paul's going to become a wealthy man, and you're not. But let me think. I reserve the right to change my opinion on what I'm saying, but that's my first reaction. Well, Richard, I think Richard is truly honest, hardworking, smart, and he's level-headed. And I think he's there to help. I also think he's working in your interests. I don't think he has any other motive. And I think he, of anybody, would deserve to get a piece of the pie, but I don't think that's going to be offered to him. But he's a good man, and I would listen. I would tune in to Richard. And he's a lawyer. He'd probably tell you I'm all wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just suspicious, and I could be wrong. But there's no cap on Paul's reward. I think there should at least be a cap. But whatever. Look, I got in the wrong business. I should have gone into receivership. We'll come up with a way to. If I were a whale, I'd write this off and go into another trade. On the other hand, if I were a whale and I'm pissed off, I'd hire an attorney. I'd offer Paul 10% of everything he finds, which is massive. And I'd probably pay the attorney 30%. And, maybe see if I could design a way to cause a squeeze. But if I were a whale and I didn't know what I was doing, that's how my brain would go. But if I get into this a bit longer and realize that I'm just as well off going in another trade, why would I tie up 3 or 4 years of my life in lawsuits? I don't know. I just think the shorts win, bastards. And the guy out there that I think truly wants to go after the shorts is Richard. I do. I just don't have the money. If I were the receiver right now, that 10%, I'm telling you this right now, that 10% minus maybe maybe a small salary and paying my overhead or something, and I don't know, it'd be subject to some sort of making sure my nut is covered and my travel expenses related to this were covered. But that 10%, I'd put it in a stub account, a stub asset, and I'd distribute it to the shareholders. That's what I would do. But I wasn't chosen for that. But I'm telling you, that deal that Rhubarb got, where he gets 20 million, if that deal, I would have said I don't want the deal. But if that deal somehow was written in stone, same thing. I would try to make some salary and expense money to cover everything. But that 20 million, I'd put it in a asset to be distributed to shareholders. I might allocate some of it to the people who had the most pain. I might allocate some of it to the busy brands and the others who have worked so hard in MMTLP and mixing the two together. But I wouldn't take the 20 million. I wouldn't take the 10%. I'd give it to you. But I guess that's why I'm sitting here, and I guess that's why I'm sitting here. The one I'm going to think how we can make this work for all the GTII shareholders. I don't have a lawyer I can ask because it's very complicated. And I used to have a couple of lawyers that I was doing projects with that I could talk to. It may be within the next weeks that I will have an attorney that I can call and ask. And one idea I would have is perhaps a company could come in to the receivership and make an offer to buy GTII first, but it would have to come out of receivership. Of course, you'd have to pay off Paul to keep him on it, and you'd have to talk to the whales. But if a company came to buy GTII, trying to help, that's the problem. There's not a lot of people out there that are going to help you. I'm telling you, that would be what my motive would be. And I would hope, if it worked, that I could make, after everyone's taken care of, I would hope I'd get something. But maybe that's the way. You buy it, that causes a short squeeze, and you have in place a way to raise money, bring in other assets, and that funds the new co that bought it. It might be a corporate finance mechanism. I just got to think it through, the one. But I wouldn't get optimistic. I wouldn't get optimistic that a new company will come in soon. Let me put it this way. The price of putting a new company in just went up. You're going to have to pay off Paul. You're going to have to pay off the attorney and probably enter into an agreement with the court, which that all three things would be above board and fair. I just think it'll be expensive, which is also fair. That's life in corporate finance. I don't know. I'm too tired to come up with an idea, but I think it's going to take time. So that's it for the questions. It's 5:30. Let me just see if there's any trading after market. Now let me check one more thing. I don't think there'll be anything to report, but if there is, I'll tell you. Nope. And then let's just check what's happening in the world. Oh, Oh. Two little children jumped off Niagara Falls. Now the spin is coming in to protect J-Lo. I don't know. I don't know enough. Yeah, I don't see any news that's going to change tonight. So we'll just sign off. And I thank everybody for being here. We'll talk probably later in the day tomorrow because I'm busy in the morning and Ham is traveling. But I'm sure he'll want to talk. And so we'll catch up then. So peace to everybody. And keep the faith. We'll get through this all together. And I think there's really good people working hard, both the whales and probably the lawyer and Paul working hard to recover assets for shareholders. They're just going to take half of them. But I guess their argument would be you wouldn't have recovered them without us. So, but then the question is, can you still have a squeeze? I don't think so. I don't think so. There's easier places to find a squeeze. There's no surprise here anymore. By definition, when it's in court, there's no surprises. Everything is slowly thought through. Anyway, we'll catch you on the flip side.